Hi, how is everyone? It's great to see you guys. I'm so happy to be here today. My name is Ana Stephanie Munoz. Thank you for joining our live. It will last around 45 minutes and we will be talking about is stress contagious? If you hear me well, please put like and comment where in the world are you watching us. Today, our guest is a psychologist, anthropologist, and gardener. If you want to know more about our lives and find out when they are and everything that we have planned for the coming weeks, I will put the link on the comment section so you can click on it and subscribe. Most of our lives are in Spanish, however, I do some in English. So our company, to let you know, my company, Excede tu Potencial, has the purpose of helping companies and their employees to refocus stress and increase productivity so they improve relationships and results. And as a transformational coach, I help people to free themselves of the mental jail that we create throughout our lives of the past experience we had. So in order to find a fulfillment, balance, and happy life that we are looking for. So today, our special guest is Sabine Janssens. She has a master in psychology, anthropology, and she does coaching and therapy with therapy workshops with groups and individuals. She did a postgraduate degree in permaculture design certification. She lives in the Netherlands and she spends most of her free time in the garden, painting, or reading. By the way, she's from Belgium but currently lives in the Netherlands. So, Sabine, it's so good to have you here again. This is, I believe, our third time together in a live. So I'm so happy to have you here. It's always a pleasure. Do you want to say a few words to our audience today?
Yeah, it's super nice to see you again and to be able to talk about this because I believe it's a very important topic, and I think it is very nice that we can talk about this from across the world and discuss stress from, those completely different backgrounds, cultural backgrounds at least, and see how as many people as possible can be reached and can find something useful out of this.
Exactly. I'm so happy to have you here again. And today the topic is a little bit different because we've been discussing, stress and anxiety in a variety of ways. And my idea to bring to the public different tools, because there are thousands of tools. Sometimes we believe there are just a few ones, but actually there's thousands. But today it's a little bit different. And I want to start asking the audience first. Like, what relaxing activities do you do in your daily life? And while you answer that, guys, Sabine, would you tell us, uh, why is it so important to have relaxing activities throughout the day?
Yeah, it is a very good question to ask, and one that we always need to keep asking ourselves. It is very tempting to only spend time for things that are productive, directly productive, and that can generate income or that can improve your skills in something that would actually help you get ahead. So quite often, even when we do some kind of pastime activities, we have in the back of our mind, okay, but this needs to be useful somehow. So it has to be something that we can use in the future or use now. And then we sort of sometimes remain stuck in that mindset that we need to go and think very deeply and rationally about life, and we use the same parts of our brain as we use during our work and during our studies, depending on what you're doing as a main activity. So the main function of having some relaxing activities is to actually allow your brain to reset, as it were. So you allow your brain to think in a different matter, in different way, and to relax in that way, because we only have two main settings in our body. We have the setting of, okay, we're going and we're focusing, and we have to get active and solve this problem and make sure that we aren't threatened and that we are well in the community and that everything will continue like it is in a good manner. And the other one is where we rest and digest, and that is where we actually allow ourselves to take some time to repair physically, literally. When you relax, you're actually regenerating your body. You are allowing your body to maintain itself. And you also have more time for creative ideas. So this is the way of thinking that will actually allow you to later solve more of the more difficult problems. So that's why it is essential to plan in this time. You think this is not useful to do this, this will not help me, it only costs time and I don't have the time. But if you don't do this, then you also miss out on the repairing function and the creativity that you get with relaxation.
Exactly. And now that you're saying this, in my experience, the times, well, I learned to do it because, as you say, we are so fixed in our checklist and that we have to run, do, and not be. I've been playing around a lot with the being part. We are in the doing instead of the being. And what I discovered is that when I allow myself these spaces throughout the day of relaxation, I am much more productive, and things that probably I would do in 3 hours, I tend to do it in maybe 1 or 30 minutes, because I'm completely present and I'm not, like when you start doing a report or something and you're doing it, but you're thinking of the next thing you have to do, or you're thinking about all the things that you forgot to do. And then you're not either doing the report, so you're not as productive as you can be. Or when you have this checklist and you start doing the things that you want to do instead of those things that actually move the needle. So at the end of the day, you did all these small things, but you didn't really do what really moves the needle. So you're not as productive as you might think, but you cross-check, like, I don't know, 10 items of your checklist. But when you see how you have moved forward, you haven't moved forward, and you're being very unproductive, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly right. And it is the weird thing about being very busy. Everyone thinks, oh, it is very good to be busy, and they are quite happy when they see that if you're a boss, they're happy when they see their employees being very busy. Because it appears that you are moving ahead and that you are doing something very productive and useful. And quite often when you're in that mindset too much and thinking, oh, I have to solve this problem, I have to cross these things off my list, then you tend to be distracted by all those mice. And yeah, there is this image, it's a nice cartoon also, of a huge elephant and a lot of tiny mice. And what you do when you're just fixated on, oh, there is this problem appearing now and I have to fix it now and I have to fix all these problems all around me, then you're busy all the time solving these little things that actually don't really matter for what you find most important. So maybe there is this one goal of your company and you want to get in a certain direction, and but you keep having these day-to-day little problems and tasks coming in and calls coming at whatever time of the day, and at the end of the day you're like, I've been busy the entire day and I feel like we're not getting anywhere. And then the next day you start your day with the feeling, oh my God, there are so many things I have to do and it's never getting done. So yeah, this is a crazy thing, and I'm so glad to hear that you're also making time for those little relaxing moments, because quite often also, especially in our line of work, we even tend to ourselves to forget that, because it's a very flexible kind of work and you tend to have all these little things at the same time going on. And no one is telling you have to start now and you have to end now and this needs to be done. So
Exactly.
You have this never-ending checklist. And it will only go larger if you don't manage it and you don't say, okay, I know this is really important, and right now it's important to go for a walk.
Exactly. Yeah. Or just be, just look at the window for 5 minutes and
Yeah.
see the sky. I mean, and I was talking on a coaching session with a client last week, actually, and I've been teaching him how to live that. Actually, he's a VP in a big international company in Philippines, and he was saying, I feel I'm being unproductive, but it's so weird because I feel I have more time, and I just helped the company. What was it? I don't know how many millions of dollars to save, because since he was having these moments of creativity, he was reading stuff. He was, like more on the strategy and less in the doing and operational part because of his level. He doesn't need to be operational anymore. He needs to be a strategist. So he found out all this money that they were wasting, and he helped the company avoid wasting, I don't know, like 2-3 million dollars, because of that time that he spent doing strategy and being more in the being, like, really, okay, what do we have here? I'm doing this analysis, but I'm not like, I have to do a checklist and I have to do this and I have to do, no, he was really focusing on that. So he saved the company a lot of money. So, and this is a message for you guys. How much money can you save your household, your company, yourself, if you just be and really strategize about what you really want, and not only want, but what actually will move the needle? And it's not the checklist. The checklist never moves the needle. Just complete tasks. For what? Right?
Exactly. And that's one of the most counterintuitive things that, you know, that are so important in our line of work, to be able to transmit that to people, that it's not the feeling of being busy, and it's not the amount of things you're doing, or it's not how long you've been working. That's also one that returns so often. People tell me,
Yeah.
oh yeah, but I work every day from like 8 in the morning until 8 in the evening. And then I'm asking, yeah, but is that really the most productive thing to do? Is that really the way in which you have done the most work, and in a good way? Because quite often it's also people that have a lot of responsibility, and then it is very important to be fresh and be able to make decisions with a clear mind, which quite honestly at 8 in the evening you're not gonna make. And then
No.
I hear that people make mistakes, and then they get quite self-conscious and uncertain, and they don't know, is this the right job? Am I, is there something wrong with me? And you get stuck in this. You get stuck
Yeah.
in this.
The hamster wheel.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, no, and I mean, and I want to ask the audience, with what you've been listening, how have you been handling that? And if you are doing some activities to relax yourself throughout the day, what do you do? What can what can you share with us? Or if you feel guilty, if you take, some time off during the day to do something you like. I mean, and it's as little as, I'm going not to answer phone calls or WhatsApps or emails because I'm going to take a cup of coffee or a cup of tea for 10 minutes without any disruption. And if you feel guilty about it, because that's the other thing, you feel guilty. So how is it? Are you doing it? Is the first question. And the second question is, how do you feel? Do you feel fine of doing that, or do you feel guilty? Because if you feel guilty, then there's actually no relaxing moment. On the contrary, you stressed out. And that's not what we want to teach you here, or what we want to transmit. That relaxing moment, you have to be convinced not only that you need it, but that it will help you. Because if you're not convinced, then it's not a relaxing moment at all. And it doesn't matter if you do a phone call to a friend, or if you go to the restroom, or if you read a book or whatever. But if you feel guilty afterwards, or you feel that you wasted your time, then it's not worth it doing. It's even worse, right? Sabine, what do you think?
Yes, certainly. I mean, that's the thing. Quite often people are willing to try something, but they're not completely convinced that it will help them. And then, you start with this little thing in the back of your mind, like, okay, I will have tried it then, but quite honestly, this will certainly not help me. And then, of course, you end up feeling like you wasted your time and you didn't enjoy it at all. So the point is to have something you enjoy and you say, oh, I used to do that before and I really love to do that, but then I had too much things to do and I stopped doing it. For some people, it's the sports or yoga or indeed just hanging out with some friends in any of the ways that are now acceptable, of course. And then, do something like that. Do something that you say, I will enjoy this. And start with small steps, something that you say, okay, I can probably fit this in my agenda. And then when you see the good results from it, you see that afterwards you feel refreshed and you feel more energized and you have more ideas. Then naturally you will be more motivated to put more of those thoughts in your agenda. And this is something that I highly recommend you to do, is to just literally take your agenda and say, okay, this is the moment I will do this. And some people, and it's also quite nice, they call it dates with themselves, and they go and they put on some music they love when no one is in the house, and then they go dancing very crazily or something like that. I mean, so really, it is whatever works for you. But do try to take the first step of something you say, okay, this I will definitely enjoy, and then do it and see what the results are. We don't need to convince you. You need to convince yourself.
Exactly. And one thing that has helped me with my clients that I tell them is, when you're feeling too guilty about taking some time off, it's do it as a prize to yourself. And what do I mean with that? For example, if you were able to achieve something, a milestone that you set yourself to do in work, in your personal life, whatever it is, celebrate it. And celebrate it with a relaxing moment. It can be a relaxing moment. And it can be, taking a massage, taking a long bath, taking a long walk in nature, just going outside and sit next to a tree, doing gardening, like you do. Some people really enjoy that, and it's very relaxing when you're touching the soil and the plants and everything, or cooking or painting, but something that it's a prize for you, but that it will bring you joy and relaxation. And when you can start like not naturally to do it, then start it as a prize. Like, this was going to be my prize if I do this, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And for many people, I have also noticed with my clients that this helps them to even finish that task more easily. So not only will you enjoy then the time afterwards when you have this reward, but you will also enjoy more the time before that, when you have something to look forward to. And you say, okay, so I'm first going to finish this book I'm reading that I have to read for work or for my school. And then afterwards, when I'm done with that, I will go to a museum, or afterwards when I'm done with that, I will indeed bake this very nice chocolate cake. And this is how I noticed that many of my clients, they have, they finish their tasks more often, because quite often, especially with perfectionists, this is also a problem. I mean, you will keep working on it as long as the deadline is not there. So what you're doing then with those rewards is you're giving yourself another kind of deadline, but instead of only
motivation,
negative reinforcement, like, oh, it is not perfectly done yet, or it's not like I wanted to, you get the positive reinforcement, like you say, oh, look, another thing I did, and I achieved to do this and this and this, and there it is. Yeah,
exactly. We have a question, and I want to show it to you, and I think we will start talking about like the contagious part of stress. I'm a person who is distressed by the stress of other people. How can I have empathy for other people without aggravating myself? Thank you, Gustavo, for asking that. I think it's a very good question.
It is indeed a very good question. And I hear this quite often, especially when doing workshops with people that work at a higher level. Because quite often those are people that are used to work with, a high stress load, and they are used to deadlines, and they actually thrive in this kind of environment to say, okay, this is very exciting, and it is, things are moving, and there are so many opportunities, and this is perfect, and this is definitely something that you can be glad of and work with, and you don't need to change anything then, because some people, they love stress and they love being at that point. What helps often to get more empathy is to know that when you are thriving and you are like at peak performance and you feel challenged, you feel energized, then you are, imagine this is a curve, just a Gauss curve. You have this peak performance here. This is about the middle, and this is where you have your body in an alert state and your mind in an alert state, but still relaxed enough to function well. But while you are there, someone else might already be there. So what can happen is that what for you is an optimal stress level and a challenge and very fun and interesting, for someone else is already overwhelming because their curve is actually way smaller. Does that mean that some people are born with less possibilities to deal with stress than others? Yes and no. Okay, some people will love more adrenaline. You can see that with children, but normally everyone can learn how to expand their curve and be able to perform better in higher stress situations. But not everyone gets all these skills with them. So this is something that you can do definitely when you have a coaching, or when there is a workshop. These people can also learn this. But certainly some people already taught themselves to deal better with those situations, have more affinity for those situations. And so this can make that what for you is a perfect environment to deal with, to finish a project, or to make the deadline that actually helps you. For someone else, this can be too much and it can actually hamper them. I hope that this helps to empathize with them. It's not the same thing as not completely being bothered with it, because of course it is unfortunate to have to work together with these people and they will still have this higher level of stress. But it helps often to understand it. And my clients often say, okay, now at least I can understand that it's not laziness, but it's just people that are not, that used to it or adapted to it yet.
Yeah. No, and here it's very interesting because it depends as well what type of people you work with and on the personalities. I've been reading a lot about, like how personality affects stress and how people work differently. Some people love and actually are better at the end of deadlines. They start working when the deadline is really, really close. And they do their best at that time. I admire those people because I'm completely the opposite. I need to be working, like little by little to achieve the deadline. I cannot, if I wait until the last minute, I don't do it. I break down practically. So when you're like me and you have a boss that tells things at the last minute, it can cause you a burnout. And I think it's very important for you to know how you work and how you perform better, and that you have a talk with your supervisor about it, how you work better. Because if the supervisor is like last minute thing, and that's something that serves him or her very well, but it doesn't serve you, or in the other way around, you have a boss that likes to have the milestones, and you don't work like that. You have to, it's very important, the communication. That's what Sabine was saying, like you have to tell people like what you need. And as well as if you're a supervisor and have people that report to you that are completely different, you have to help them you understand the way they work and they understand the way you work, and find a happy medium that you're not stressing them out or they're not stressing you out. Because at the end, both ways of working are correct. None of them it's good or bad. It's just the way that serves you most. But you have to talk about it, because otherwise then it's not only contagious, but it actually can drive you to a burnout, and it's not worth it. And adding it up, that you don't have relaxing moments throughout the day, the situation of achieving a burnout comes even faster, right, Sabine?
Definitely. Yeah, this is a very clear picture of how people can, drive each other into a context in which they get a burnout. And unfortunately, I've seen this quite often, where in a team, one after another falls out because of a burnout. Because there is this pattern going on where people keep forcing other people to work in an unhealthy way for them. And every time someone falls out, the pressure only becomes larger and the pattern only reinforces until everyone is out. This sounds like an exaggeration, but I've seen this in many
true.
different
It's
companies.
happening.
And quite often, this is something I also tell people when they feel like they're almost at burnout. Well, they will not say it like that, but I notice they're very, very overworked, and there is only this needed to get over the edge. And then I tell them, you don't only have to take care of yourself, for yourself and your family, but also for your colleagues. If you do not put a stop to this and remain within your limits and work in a healthier way, one, you will not be able to work anymore for a few months, because that's what happens with burnout. And two, you will probably cause other people to also overwork and put them to their limits. So you're not helping anyone with this. And that's quite often very confronting, because many people, they keep working to actually support their company or their team because they're very loyal. Often people that overwork, they're very loyal. They have something they really want to achieve, and realizing that working this manner actually opposes your goals, opposes your good intentions. It's quite often the first step to understand, okay, so I will actually have to do what's good for me to be able to do what's good for them.
Exactly. Yeah, and another thing I notice with my clients is, if talking about personalities, and that each of us is different, the fact of there's some people that are extrovert and some people that are introverts. So the fact of being with for the introverts, being with too many people and like all day long with meetings and meetings and meetings, and if they don't have a time by themselves to release all the stress and all the anxiety and all the things from the energy of all the people you work with, that's another cause of burnout. And for the extroverts to start receiving all the energy from people, and some people have a lot of stress, and you are just taking that stress with you as your own, and it's not your own. I mean, you're being empathic, but if you're too empathic, then you start feeling stressed that it's not even your own, and that leads you to a burnout as well, much faster, or an anxiety issue. And when you have your moments of, okay, I'm going to just release all these energies that are not mine, I'm going to have a time by myself, and this relaxing moment where I will just get rid of everything that's not mine or that's not useful to my life, that will avoid me getting stressed out more easily.
Definitely. It's super important to just know what you need and make sure that you get this in a day. It sounds so simple, and yeah, I mean, it's easy to nod and say, yeah, it's important to know what you need, but how often do we do that? How often do we say, okay, but what I actually need to work well here? And not only that, but especially if you work with people that are stressed themselves, it is very tempting to look at what they need and how you can support them, and to forget that you actually need to first make sure that you are doing well, and that you can actually have the space to not absorb this, but give it a place and say, okay, yeah, this is their thing, and I'm now going to ground myself, be here, and be present,
Exactly.
not be in the other people's problems, in the other person's energy, and say, okay, yeah, and now where do I want to go? And yeah, okay, you can still support that person, but you will support that person or those people better if you take this time to take some distance. And that sometimes sounds a bit rushed to say, okay, I want more distance, but it actually helps you to
separate yourself from what's going on.
Separate yourself and to ground yourself and to make sure that the physical reaction, that you're not taking it with you. Because this is often something people don't notice. But after that you've been with someone that's very stressed, you will tend to also take their pattern of breathing and their muscular tension. So you will mirror them, especially if you're an empathic person. So being an empathic person near people with stress, it is
not a good combination.
It's not a good combination, and you really have to make sure you take this time and this space for yourself. If you're a bit more, cool in that regard, that's actually a good protection in that case. And this can actually even be better to deal with people that are very stressed.
Yeah. And I want to ask you this, and I want to ask you guys, if in your companies, before asking Sabine, how has it been, since COVID started with meetings? Because I've noticed here in Latin America and in the US a bit, is that previously you used to have, like your whole day with meetings, but now you have like 2 or 3 meetings at the same time. So you're with your phone in one meeting, with your tablet in another, and with your computer in another. And it's crazy because you're nowhere. So I don't know if this has happened as well in Europe, but guys, if somebody here has been like that, please raise your hands or write a comment. Like I'm curious about how have you been handling it, and how productive do you feel you are, and if you have time during the day to actually work and not only be in meetings. And Sabine, what have you seen in Europe, and what do you recommend here to work your stress better and have those relaxing moments better? Because in these like 3 meetings at a time, you get contagious of the stress of 3 different groups of people that you're in at the same time. So how do you recommend to deal with this?
Yeah, so I have noticed fewer of those occasions where people really are at 3 meetings at the same time, though it does happen that meetings overlap, and there is less clear definition of meetings. So meetings, they can change more easily, obviously, because you don't need to have a physical location. People tend to more quickly say, oh yeah, we can have a meeting now. But also, indeed, when people are in a meeting now, they have more the tendency to do other things at the same time. Because, of course, you have less control over that. So while you're in the meeting, okay, you guys can't see what my hands are doing, so I could perfectly well be on my phone if the camera wouldn't be all the time on me.
Mm-hmm.
On my phone, I could be like checking at the same time, okay, my email, I could, and this is something that I do notice that a lot of people do. And so here it's more easy to say, okay, yeah, I mean, this is very tempting when you have a more boring moment in a meeting. It's very tempting to say, I will fill this time because, why do I even have to be here? And I will do something productive at least. But what happens is, this is not even really multitasking, this is task switching. So if you're in several meetings at the same time, and you are in a meeting and at the same time checking your email, what you're doing is, it's not that you're in your email and in your meeting at the same time. You are, now I'm in the meeting, now I'm on my phone. I'm again in the meeting because a question was asked that I found interesting. Oh, but a ping, okay, it is my phone. So it is estimated that every 5 or 6 seconds we do task switching and we do something else while we're working. And this is incredible. This is incredible. It's almost, it's hard to comprehend, because what happens every time you do this is your brain needs a little bit of time to restart, to refocus on that one task. And what you're doing is you're losing up to 30-40% of your mental energy at every time. Every time you're switching, you're losing energy, and you are becoming more and more inefficient with time. So the crazy thing is, the longer you do this task switching thing, and you will notice that at the end of 2 or 3 meetings, you are more exhausted than before if you did like an entire day of live meetings. At least that's what my clients tell me. They tell me like 2 or 3 meetings via online are much more tiresome, because quite often we do more at the same time. Of course, we also have fewer clues that we normally would have, social clues where we say, okay, this is a situation, we are in the same room, we can see where the attention is of the other person. So quite often we are thinking, we are adding that process on top of things to fill in the blank. There are several things that I could recommend there. One of those things is to especially if it's more delicate situation, to ask the other person, where are you? What kind of place is it? Are you working alone there? Is this a comfortable place to talk already? That you're sure, because this does happen, that there is like a little kid at the side, and he's taking half of the attention of the other person. So that already helps you to not have to have that process at the same time. If there are things like your email that are bothering you, well, there I would say I highly recommend to switch off your email and to not do those tasks that you can avoid at the same time, because again, you are losing really your capacity to focus after the meeting. You're not only losing your capacity to focus on the here and now and focus on what people are saying, but also, your responses via email will be less well thought through, and you will be more tired and lose time for the rest and energy for the rest of the day. As a last thing, what I will say, and then I'll give it back, is to, if you have these moments that you say, this is boring, oh, I don't immediately, why do I have to follow this? And oh, this doesn't have anything to do with me. To just take a moment and not immediately try to fill that space, and take a moment to just be and breathe in deeply and check, how are you? Are you tensing up your muscles? Okay, then intentionally let your shoulders just, hang. Take a moment to just look around you and to just appreciate where you are and that you're sitting comfortably and, these things. So this is a little moment you can use for mindfulness and actually increase your focus and increase your satisfaction in that time that you would otherwise lose. So yeah, this is what I would say to all the people that have many things at the same time. Of course, sometimes you can't avoid it and you have things are at the same time. And yeah, then I would just say, okay, try to minimize it. But if it's there, know that it will take more attention. Prepare yourself for it. Plan a moment afterwards, even if it's only 10 minutes, to take a cup of tea and relax, because you will need it.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Sabine. I think it's very important what you said. And yeah, it's to take those moments of mindfulness. And if we can be mindful throughout the whole day, it's much better, because we don't only enjoy more what we do, whatever we do, if we study, if we work, if we are in charge of the household, or a combination of all of them. But you have more energy throughout the day as well. And you take better decisions, you have better relationships, and you get sick less.
Oh, yeah. Also, very important point from nowadays. Who knew that just taking the time to sit and relax and, appreciate just being here, like I could appreciate I'm talking to you. And Be very glad to see you again. And, just this seems like such a small thing, but all those small moments and small appreciations and small reflections, like, okay, actually this is nice. this is good. And they add up. And at the end of the day, you are more satisfied about what you've done. Even if you wouldn't have done more than otherwise, you will be more glad with what you did do during the day if you take this time. But quite probably, like we've seen, you will have done more in the day.
Exactly. You're much more productive. And at the end of the day, if you do a recap of what you did much more probably in 2-3 hours than what you did in 8 when you weren't focused and when you weren't calm and you weren't present, because you don't even remember all the things you did. And at the end, as you were saying, you not necessarily do them right, or the email just sent wasn't, instead of helping, it was dreadful, or it started a discussion that wasn't necessary or something. Yeah. I want to share with you a question from Gabriela Enriquez. Nice to have you here, Gabriela. Good morning. I have a question. Why I get easily stressed by some people in particular? Sometimes I just see them and I get stressed without talking to them. Yeah.
That does happen. That does happen.
A lot.
Yeah.
And you're not alone, Gabriela. It happens to all of us.
Yeah. My first thought would be, if it's really at the first impression, it can be someone's posture and someone's facial expression. It can just be that someone is transmitting this more angry attitude, this more like, I'm at war with the world and the world keeps attacking me. You will probably also attack me. So the thing is, we generally make our impressions in the first 30 seconds of meeting someone. So yeah, definitely, especially more sensitive people will pick up all these clues about someone's state of being. And while we can't know what someone is thinking, we can know that someone is more tense, is more angry, is more... even if that angry face could also be just someone who's thinking about the things they have to do for the day. So it could be that we're misinterpreting it, and quite often we are. Quite often when we think, oh, that person is just nasty, that person is just looking for trouble, that person is just thinking about that he has to get his kid from school, and that the car broke down, and that he still has to call his wife because, he has to arrange all that. So most of the time it doesn't have anything to do with you. And that's also something that can help at that time, is to think like, okay, what am I thinking about this person? Because we have all these implicit assumptions that quite often we're not thinking them quite actively, but they do influence our feeling. So you can think like, what is the impression I'm getting from this person, and make this very concrete and say, could I give it another, is there another interpretation I could give to that? So if you have a neighbor and the neighbor is like always walking like that, and you are always the first few times just saying hi friendly, and you're angry because that person is not responding back and seems to be like an unfriendly person, maybe that's just a person that, has back pain. and that's why he tends to have this posture, and he tends to not notice things on the street. So this helps you to generate a few alternatives, and then you will be much more happy if you choose the ones that are the most positive for you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would like to add with what you were saying, is that sometimes it's because we have a judgment of the people already. So for example, and normally they're bad judgments. It's like, this person always stresses me out. So every time you see the person, he or she will stress you out no matter what, because you already have that story in your mind that person stresses you out.
Yeah.
So you need to start to change what you're telling to yourself about that person. That it's, like a very simple judgment, but it can be from that to something that person did to you. So and that's the energy you bring as well. So if you bring the energy of that person stresses me out, what that person will do, and this is unconscious, that person will start stressing you out by the first comment she or he will do, because anything he or she will say will stress you out no matter what. But if somebody else tells you the same thing, probably that person won't stress you out because you already have a judgment of that person.
Mm-hmm.
And the energy you're transmitting is like, please stress me out. So that person will stress you out. So we need to start to change, like what we're telling to ourselves about this person. And as Sabine was saying, the stories we make in our minds about someone doesn't even, first, they're not related to us. That person has its own problems. And second, has nothing to do with us, and it's not personal. And if they have a personal situation with you, it's when we need to talk about it. It's like, okay, what's your problem? Or I want to tell you my problem with you, because sometimes that person doesn't even have a problem with you. It's you with that person. Mm-hmm. So to be honest and say, I really want to have a good relationship, and I feel stressed out because of this and that. And you point out the situations, not like, oh, one day I felt you said this way. No, it's not about feeling. It's like, what happened exactly? Like that person said A, B, C, D, and that stressed you out. Or that person did CVV and that stressed you out. But if that person doesn't know what stresses you out, that person will never know that he or she actually is stressing you out. Or the other way around, you might be stressing out a lot of people and that people aren't telling you, or that you're stressing them out, but instead of stopping, you continue doing it.
Yeah, definitely. If you don't talk about about something, there is a good chance that people will just never know what you need, what you want. And that's also the thing, to go back to our previous topic, is to, if you don't say what you want from a person, if you don't say what you need to work well or to have a pleasant time with someone, then you will not get it quite often. If you don't even have the image of what you want, and this is something that I know all the time with my clients. I tell them, what do you want? And they explain in detail to me what they don't want. They say, like, I don't want this person to do this or to say that. Okay, understandable. So if you could choose what they would do, what would you want them to do? And they're like, not do that one thing. Yeah, but that's like,
But what's the one thing?
A taxi and saying, I don't want to go to Milan. Okay, fine, but
what do you want? Where do you want to go?
Yeah, like your relationship with that person will not improve, because they're like, yeah, so where do we go from here? What will we do? What do we want? So get this image in your mind, talk to that person, and quite often, something good comes out of it. Maybe not exactly what you had in mind, but something good.
Yeah. No, and then it's, when it's about relationships and about work, I think it's a negotiation. So you start presenting what you need and want. The other person says if he or she can give you what you want. And if not, then what's the happy medium that both of you will feel all right with it? And normally when we make, these stories in our mind about why this person acts the way he or she does, when we clarify what's going on, and you said it previously, but like 99% of the times, it has nothing to do with you, and we take things personally. And most of the times, you normally don't do things thinking, I'm going to hurt this person, I'm going to do this to hurt this or that, or create this situation. You normally don't do that. Normally when we take decisions about what we want to do, is because of something good to ourselves. But the problem is, because we're thinking of us, we don't realize how it's affecting people around us. And that happened on the other way. When someone takes a decision, it's because he or she is thinking about them, not about the rest of the people. So some decisions or some things people do tend to affect us. But if we talk with the people, then we will realize they never tried, or they never thought about affecting us in any way or harm us. But we need to really talk and find out why people did what they did, if it affected us. And they have to know that it affected us, because if we never tell them, they will think that it didn't affect anybody, for that matter.
Yes, and this is especially true with people that are stressed. The more stressed people are, the less they are capable of thinking about other people. So
Yeah.
empathy decreases when stress increases. So quite often we find stressed people quite unpleasant. And that's quite sad, because these people are already suffering quite a lot from their own situation. And then they also get this negative feedback from other people, and the feedback loops where they're already feeling like the world's against them. And then you already started, oh, that person will be difficult, and you create this unpleasant atmosphere. While when you start with these kind of people and you say, okay, what's the one positive thing that I would think we could achieve with this conversation, or this one thing that I could learn from here, or this one thing that I appreciate from this person, and you go very concrete and very create a good image of that in your mind, then you can break that pattern, and that person can also get a different impression from you, and start to think like, oh, I mean, I can talk to this person, and this actually helps me when I have a friendly conversation. And then they will be much more likely to want to help you with whatever it is that you need. So it's all about setting the circumstances for success and priming yourself for success with that person, and say, this is what I want to achieve with this person. And maybe you will not get everything from your image. Maybe the conversation will go in a different direction. But when you start with this mindset, possibilities open up. Your body language will be different. The other person's body language will react to that, because, we do this automatically. And you just get a more friendly world in general. I mean, your world at least.
Exactly. Oh, Sabine, I love our conversation. And Gabriela said, thank you very much for your answer. A virtual hug to you too, Gabriela. For those of you who started listening a little bit later, we're talking about, is stress contagious, with Sabine Janssens. She's a psychologist, anthropologist, and gardener. And I'm about to launch a free guide in Spanish called Work-Related Stress, the Silent Enemy, where you will find what causes you stress at work and how to overcome it. So if you would like a copy, write on the comment section estrés or stress, and I will send you the free guideline as soon as I have it ready. So Sabine, and I want to share with you guys as well all the contact information from Sabine. If you want to get in touch with her, I'm going to leave it on the comment section. And Sabine, some last words to our audience, or some last tips before we wrap up here?
Well, it was lovely to talk to you, and I'm so glad to be able to discuss all these things and to get different insights from the other side of the world. I would say that the main thing to take away is probably to take your time to be present, and to set your goals that you really want to spend your energy on, what you really want to achieve, what you find most important, and to manage your day accordingly. So first say, I want to achieve this, and then start working, and then start talking, instead of just reacting to the world as it presents itself to you. You're like, okay, the world, it is in a certain way, but I will go in this direction with that. I will handle it in this direction. And yeah, so I hope this is useful for people, and I certainly enjoy talking about this with you.
Yeah, me too. I love it. So I'm writing down, hold on, before I finish. And Something else that you want to share with them before we finish here, Sabine? Or that would be about it?
Yes, I think we didn't even talk about the easiest way to cope with someone who's stressed. The easiest way is to just relax your own body. And for that, you have one tool always with you, even in a meeting, even on a bus, even in the car. Doesn't matter, you always have it. You have just your own breathing. So by changing your rhythm and slowing down a little bit and making sure that you don't move this part, but breathe with your stomach, you will trick your brain into believing that the situation is calm, that there is no danger, that you can relax, that you can repair, that you can, have this creative mindset. So this is one thing I want to give to people, to just do this and do this several times a day. Yeah. And during a meeting, you don't have to put your hand there. You can just do it and by focusing. But when you are not in a meeting, in between meetings, just 1 or 2 minutes of doing this, making sure that your upper hand is not moving, but your lower hand is. This will make sure that you reset your tension level to a good, nice level for the next meeting, for the next task. And you will see, if you train this in a few weeks' time, you will become much more adept at quickly calming yourself down. So this is my last gift for you all. Enjoy, and I hope you all have a lovely day.
Thank you, Sabine. Thank you for being here, everyone. And I hope to see you again next week. And see you soon. Thanks, Sabine, and have a great week. Bye-bye, everyone.